Hey everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle. I'm here with Laura Heck. Today we're here with Dr. Robert Glover, who wrote a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. This book's been on my radar for a very long time. Laura also recently discovered it and tracked down an interview with Dr. Glover, which was really fascinating. He covers a variety of topics that are germane not only to men, but, primarily. You will hear him describe how important it is for men to feel connected, particularly to other men. You might remember we did an interview with Larry Hagner a while back, who runs a thing called the Dad Edge Alliance. There are a whole bunch of others like Men's Rite of Passage or the Mankind Project. Dr. Glover has his own called Integration Nation. All of them are just helping guys stay connected, kind of avoid the sense of loneliness and isolation that sometimes creeps up for folks. So if that's you or if that's your partner, check it out. Check out what it might look like for you to get connected in some of these ways. I hope you'll enjoy this interview. He's a sharp guy. He's got a lot of very cool ideas. Mostly I just sit back and listen. Laura asks some really good questions. This is a very cool conversation. Stick around.
I'm so excited. I am so excited that you said yes, because I have been over here. I'm in Bend, Oregon, and the background is that your book was handed to me by a colleague about maybe 10 years ago. Would that even fit? When did the first edition of your book come out?
It came out as an ebook right around turn of the century, and first print edition came out March 2003. So
okay.
that fits.
Yeah, that fits. Yeah. So it's been around for a while, and he said this was so game-changing for me. And I looked at the title and I thought, okay, this doesn't apply to me. So I didn't read it. But eventually it came up. I was running a book club for other clinicians, and somebody else had suggested it. And I was like, okay, there's got to be something to this. So once I read it, it was such a game changer. The way in which I looked at my male clients completely changed. And so I was really excited when you agreed to come on the podcast, because I have no idea what you're up to in the world right now. And, if you're doing interviews, if you're talking about the book, but I was just really excited because I want to pick your brain.
Great. 25 years later, I'm still talking about the book. It's interesting because it took us 3 years to get it published. And a lot of book editors said, Robert, we think it's a good book, but our marketing department says men won't buy a self-help book. Now that was kind of pre-Amazon, pre-Kindle, pre-podcast for people to hear a book, go on Amazon, buy it. Amazon sent people who bought this book. So men buy lots of books. The royalty checks keep growing every year. So that's pretty phenomenal for a book that's been out almost 25 years. Most books come, peak, they go. And I've got good friends in Bend, Oregon, so I love Bend. I get through there every chance I get.
That's awesome.
The book, of course, is written, it is directed at men. And I get lots of emails from women that say, I can relate to it. I see a lot of my own nice girl tendencies in it. I see my spouses, my sons, my exes' tendency.
I bet.
And you know what? Once the therapy world kind of accepted it and got past maybe the title and thought, well, this is just another, self-help book or a pickup book or something like that.
Yeah.
I get a lot of emails from female therapists that say, now I know how to work with these men that walk in my office that I'm thinking, what's wrong with them? They're nice, they're kind, they're caring, they're generous, they're well put together, and they either can't find love or keep love, or they're underperforming. And a lot of female therapists say first thing they do is just hand them the book and say, read that.
Totally.
And we're going to dive into it.
Yeah.
All right. So I am in Seattle. Laura and I work.
Seattle. I was born in Seattle.
Right on.
Awesome. Where?
Where?
I was actually, my parents lived on Capitol Hill when I was born. I was born at Northgate Hospital. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
They moved to Bellevue, the Lake Hills area of Bellevue, when I was like 6 weeks old. So I grew up in Bellevue. My mom my mom lives out in Sammamish on the lake. And
I love it.
So I'll be up there again in 2 weeks. I was up there a couple weeks ago. My wife and I go camping. We go camping at Denny Creek. And
very
I've
nice.
been going there since I was like a little kid. Took my kids there.
Where are you now?
Take my grandkids. I'm in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Okay,
I was wondering.
I had to get sunshine.
I was wondering.
A lifetime in the Seattle, this is the short days in the winter time, the doom, the gloom.
Well, we're having
gray,
that July.
rain.
We're having that balmy July, August right now.
That's why I get up there in the summertime.
Totally.
And I'm down here in Puerto Vallarta in the wintertime. Perfect.
So I'm in Seattle. I have not read the book, and probably a lot of our readers haven't read the book. Why don't you go ahead and talk to me like I'm an idiot, and tell me like what is No More Mr. Nice Guy? Like, let's.
I can probably tell you about the book without talking to you like you're an idiot, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I think you are an idiot for not reading it yet.
That's
but,
right.
I'll get there. You might know this, but we interviewed, and we have a friendship with Larry Hagner, who runs the Dad Edge Alliance, and your book like was viral in that community. There's probably 800, 900 guys who were just eating it up for about a year. They studied it, went through it, and that was right when I was kind of transitioning out of that community. I wasn't so much a part of it. So it's in my consciousness, and I know that it's valuable. I just haven't picked it up yet. So for those people who are like me, what is it?
All right, let me give you the little elevator pitch of what a nice guy is.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about how I came to write a book, teaching men to be not nice. A nice guy is a man, and for women listening, there's a lot of nice girls out there. In fact, I think nice girls probably preceded nice guys. I was taught to be a nice guy by my nice girl mother. Okay, so but there's a lot of ways that men kind of come into this life paradigm, this roadmap of living their life. And a nice guy is basically, as I define it, is a person, we'll say man or woman, but in No More Mr. Nice Guy, it is addressed to men, is a person who's inaccurately internalized an emotional belief, usually very early in life, in infancy and childhood, that I'm not okay just as I am. And that's what we call toxic shame. This is inner core belief, an emotional belief that later becomes an intellectual belief that there's something wrong with me. I'm not okay. I'm not lovable. And so a nice guy is trying to do two things. One, become what he thinks other people want him to be, so he'll be liked and loved and get his needs met. So if I was being a nice guy with you guys, I'd be watching both of you, your facial expressions, your eye, your body language, your tone. And as long as you were like both nodding like you're doing right now, I go, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm all right. Yeah. You know, if you
probably
smile,
wouldn't call me an idiot too.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't call you an idiot. I do it with love. You know, as long as you're smiling and laughing, everything's good, right? But as soon as I got like a puzzled look or kind of looking up the corner or maybe even a closed look, I go, oh no, I did, that was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I better veer. I better explain it. That would be nice guy doing that first thing, trying to always become what I think other people want me to be. So I'll be liked and loved and get my needs met, feel validated, feel okay. Second thing nice guys are doing is they're hiding anything about them that they think might get a negative reaction from anybody else. And this, for most people, this begins in childhood because, a lot of things little children do, they get in trouble for. They get scolded, they get spanked, they get put in timeout. So the nice guy's trying to hide anything that will get a negative reaction from others. And for most nice guys, that usually begins with their feelings. I say in No More Mr. Nice Guy that nice guys are afraid of two kinds of feelings, their own and everybody else's, because feelings mean something might go south. Somebody might get hurt. Somebody might get spanked. Somebody might get put in isolation. Somebody might get scolded or shamed. So feelings are scary for nice guys. So they repress their feelings, their thoughts, their wants, their opinions. They go along to get along. Very chameleon. And the thing that they're most likely to repress or hide from others is their sexuality. Because, sexuality is just such an interesting thing in culture. We still live in a culture worldwide, East and West, that basically says sex is dirty, evil, and sinful. I grew up in a very fundamental Christian church that's... They didn't say it quite this way, but the message was sex is dirty, evil, sinful, save it for the one you love.
Sure.
Which is, such a paradox. Now, what do? On your honeymoon night, you saved this evil, dirty thing for the one you love? It doesn't work well. But we're also bombarded with sexual stimuli everywhere we go. Radio, music, television, movies, ads, everything is sexualized while we're being told it's bad. So anyway, there's, we can go a lot of different directions with that. So nice guys tend to hide or repress their sexuality. Now, sexuality is a force of nature. It is the force of all creation. Every living thing procreates after its own, and we were all born of an act of sex. Sex is just reality. And to hide that, repress it, push it down, it's going to go somewhere. And so for example, in highly religious states, for example, the state of Utah, that is a highly religious state, they can track this stuff. There is more use of internet porn per capita in Utah than any state in the United States, a highly religious state. Why? they're all repressing their sexuality. Oh, look, I'm good. I'm this, I'm that. And religion can turn out a lot of nice guys. It was a big player in my part. I have to be good. I have to look good. I have to do everything right. So how I came to write a book about this is that I was in my second marriage, about 2 years into my second marriage. I'd acted out in an inappropriate way. My wife found out about it, and she said, "You need help." She said, "Everybody thinks you're such a nice guy, but you're not." She said, "I can't trust you. You're passive aggressive. You blow up at me. You're resentful. You're a victim. Blah blah blah." And I thought, I do everything I can to try and make you happy. It's never enough. It never works. But okay, I'll go get help. Luckily, and I actually went looking for help, trying to figure out why me being a nice guy didn't make my wife
such a big deal.
Why she didn't appreciate that, right?
Totally.
And so luckily I landed in some good places. The first place I landed, my second wife, ex-wife now, said, "You're a sex addict." So I went to a 12-step group for sex addicts. Quickly found out I wasn't having enough sex to be a sex addict. I was more of an approval or external validation addict. If a woman liked me or approved of me, that was addictive for her. I sought. I not only sought that, I responded to it at times by having sex.
And Robert, haven't they changed? I think they've changed that too. Like it used to be Sexaholics Anonymous, but I think it's now Sex and Love Anonymous, or at least there's parts of it. So maybe. Not that I don't want to talk about your addiction strictly, but I think that very thing has been
it's not my
come
addiction.
under the microscope.
Here's the thing.
That was an addiction back then, right?
Yeah,
What
my ex-wife thought. Now, again, I quickly found out, but I'll come back to your question.
Yeah.
Quickly found out I wasn't sexually impulsive. That was not my core issue.
Okay.
But I was in this, it was a men's group, basically. It was all men because it just happened to be. And these guys, they had some hardcore stuff. I think some had been to jail for their acting out. Some probably were on their way to jail. So for the first time in my life, I began just revealing me, being vulnerable, talking about myself. I wasn't going to be judged.
In this group context?
Yeah, I wasn't going to be judged. The most severe thing anybody's going to say is, "Thank you for sharing, Robert." And, they're probably all thinking, "Why is that guy even here?" We're the true sex addicts. But you know what? It was liberating to have a place to go and be vulnerable and reveal myself. And I also got into therapy at the same time and had a really good therapist. And I started opening up and revealing, and she would never have negative reactions. It'd be like, "Well, okay, let's explore what that's about." And then a friend of mine, another therapist, told me about a men's group he was in, led by a female therapist, around sexual shame. I did that for about 5-6 years, and that's where I wrote most of No More Mr. Nice Guy. So what I found out is I was working on me and learning about my lack of boundaries, my covert contracts of giving to get, my seeking of validation, my hiding of my shame, sexual and otherwise, my tendency to seek out women to get approval rather than connecting with men. As I started learning and just getting onto these stuff, I was a marriage and family therapist, so I had a private practice, and couples were coming to me. And I started realizing the men were saying the same thing I was saying. I could finish their sentences. They'd say, "I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I treat her better than her ex. I'm raising her kids. I'll do anything for her. I buy her the car she wants. I take her on the vacation she wants. It's never good enough. She's never happy. She's always critical. When's it going to be my turn? And she never wants to have sex anymore." I thought, I know that. I know that. Now, there was another group of men that I didn't immediately make the same connection because I was kind of focused on relationship because my doctorate's in marriage therapy. And, I'm a relationship kind of guy. I was in my second marriage. But there were the single guys that were saying, I've got a lot of female friends. They all say I'm great. They all say I'm amazing. They all say some woman's going to be so lucky to have me someday.
I got friend zoned.
Yeah, I listened. That was back before the term friend zone even existed.
Yeah.
And so, but now that's what we call it, is that the guy was so passively pleasing, seeking the approval and validation of the women, hiding any sexual agenda from the woman, any letting her know, "I like you. I want to date you. I want to get naked with you." They would hide that because that's not nice. And a lot of nice guys like me had a self-limiting belief, a paradigm that women think sex is bad and they think men who want to have sex with them are bad, because most of us nice guys have listened to women complain about the bad men who only want one thing. So I won't be that guy. So I started a No More Mr. Nice Guy men's group about 30 years ago. That group met every other week. I started another one. I just started writing kind of chapters, lessons to give the guys of what I was learning about me, what I was learning about nice guy syndrome. And over a period of 6-7 years, I just kept writing, and the guys and their partners were saying, Robert, you should write a book. You should go on Oprah. This could be a bestseller. There's lots of people that need this book.
Totally.
So yeah, 6-7 years to write the book, about 3 years to get it published. And as we talked about, it's been out 20 plus years now. And it probably is, probably in the top 2 or 3 most referenced books in terms of men and just, men living, their personal recovery, living a good life. Okay.
Yeah.
The sex addict thing, real quick, Zach.
Yeah.
I quickly found out I wasn't a sex addict because I wasn't sexually compulsive. But in my seeking of external approval and validation from women, if they wanted to have sex with me, I kind of felt obligated that I should. There's a codependent reason for having sex, right? Well, and because also I kind of grown up with this deprivation view that I can't get women to want to have sex with me. And so that's where my acting out came. And so actually a more appropriate group for me, rather than I went to Sexaholics Anonymous, but Sex Addicts Anonymous, I found to be a better, a little bit more. Sexaholics Anonymous defines sobriety, that is sex between heterosexual partners in marriage. So that was kind of almost fundamental, like the church I grew up in. Sex Addicts Anonymous, the individual defines their own sexual sobriety.
Yeah.
Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous probably was a more appropriate program for me, and I attended various groups of SLA. But I tell you what, number one, 2 things worked against it for me. One was there were a lot of women there complaining about their relationships with men. I'd been listening to my mother and other women complain about their relationships with men since I was old enough to listen. Right? I didn't need to go to my 12-step group and basically repeat my pattern of, I'll listen to you talk about the bad men. You'll like me and approve of me and think I'm a good man. So that didn't work.
Yeah.
And the other part was it seemed like a lot of people in the SLA programs, and I don't want to cast a blanket on all the programs. Every meeting's different.
Yeah.
But it felt like I'd go and people were doing their addiction there. Oh, I've missed you so much. Oh, it's been so long. Oh, I've been so looking forward to talk. Just, there's a difference between affection and connection versus that empty, needy place that we reach out to others to get filled. That's codependency. That's borrowed functioning. And that's what I was working on. And it felt like I'd go to these meetings and be in the middle of people doing their drug. It'd be like going to an AA meeting and people doing their drug and smoking and drinking coffee. Oh, that they do that. But at least they aren't drinking, right? They're not drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Basically what I found is the sex addict group I went to was my first men's group. And that's kind of how I categorize it. It was a group I went and for the first time in my life got vulnerable with men, learn to trust men, get safe with men, be supported by men, be held accountable by men. And I've been a believer of that process ever since. I've done most of my most significant work in men's group. I've been in a men's program for the last 6-7 years. When I was in Seattle in private practice in Bellevue, I was leading 5 men's groups a week. So I believe in that process. And I think that is where men, especially nice guys, do their best work.
With other men.
With other men in a group setting. Because as a therapist, I've worked with a lot of men individually. I still do. Do a lot like we're doing over Zoom, over the internet. And, Zach, you may know this. If 2 guys are in a room talking about issues, we get into our heads really quick. We get analytical really quick. But if you put a guy in a group with other men, like, I'll do workshops here in my office. I'll have 8 guys here. Friday night, we're just opening up and introducing ourselves. Why are we here? All it takes is for one guy to share something, one thing. I got this thing with porn. And all of a sudden, another guy shares. Another guy shares. And then maybe the next morning, I didn't bring this up last night, but guys get vulnerable. They start risking. Their behavioral patterns also show up in a group. If they tend to, when they get anxious, they dominate, or they get silent, or they get critical, or they get judgy, or they get, offer too much advice. Those behaviors show up in that social context, and now they can be dealt with in the context. They may not show up just in a one-on-one session. I do one-on-one coaching nowadays, but put men in a group where there's a container that's safe and they can trust, and there's some leadership in that group to kind of lead them towards being open and vulnerable and taking risks. It just amazes me.
Yeah.
Just a transformation. I tell guys that come to my weekend workshops, Friday night, you're all in this room with 6, 7, 8 other strangers. You don't know any of these guys. You're looking around. You're judging them. You're ranking them. Who am I going to like? Who's going to get on my nerves? Oh, that guy reminds me of somebody else I used to know. And that guy, I hated that guy. We're all doing that. I said, by Sunday, you're going to be treating each other like your frat brothers that you've known for 20 years. And they do. They stay in touch. I have guys who've done workshops 5, 6 plus years ago that still connect as a group weekly or every other week. They make trips to be with each other. So again, you put men in that group, give them a chance to feel safe, be vulnerable, open up, reveal. It is amazing the work they do and the connection they form with other men that continues to support them as they move forward.
Wow.
So that's how I wrote the book. That's what a nice guy is.
Hey gang, this is the part of the episode where we take just a moment to thank you again for all your support and helping us keep Marriage Therapy Radio on the air, and also to remind you that there are still tons of ways that you can support the podcast. The best thing to do is to go to marriagetherapyradio.com and you'll find lots of different options. We have our book coming out. It's called Reconnect. That's on September 10th. You can pre-order on the website. That's a great way to support us. You can join our Patreon page, which is also available at the website. We have a couple of different tiers with a lot of cool programs running out right around back to school, so now is the time to jump on board. You can always leave a comment or share the podcast, support our sponsors. If you're looking for opportunities for your own personal growth that are beyond this podcast, there's a page that links to some of the boot camps that I'm going to be leading in the fall. There's one that's online. I think there's an early bird discount through August 11th. There's another one in person in Minnesota, another one in person in Philadelphia. So if those are close to you, go ahead and check that out. But again, want to thank you so much for listening to Marriage Therapy Radio, to sharing it with your friends, to engaging with us on the socials, to becoming part of our community so we can continue to bring you really great content that helps you think about your relationship in new and exciting and innovative ways. And now back to our really cool conversation.
I have so many questions because I've been, I have at least, I was just kind of like counting up, I have at least 3 nice guys in my practice right now. And the interesting part is that one similar situation happened where when I handed them the book or the audiobook and I just said, I think this aligns with what you're describing, read it. They read it in a day.
Yeah.
And then they come back to me and it's like been a massive changer for them. Not only that, but for their partner to also read it. So anytime I give a book, I always have their partner read it. That has been just a way of shifting from blame, criticism to finally feeling like this fits me to a T. And I do have a couple of questions because I've been like, oh man, I need to consult with Robert on this.
All right, let's do it. Let's do our consultation.
Okay, consultation. So here's one question that I have is you have all of the really lovely, wonderful, amazing parts about a nice guy. They're very attuned to their partner. Now on the opposite side is they're hyper attuned to their partner, constantly watching, observing, paying attention, and then shifting like a chameleon. And so we've kind of got like these both versions. One thing that I'm curious about is I've seen this trend where when men are with their partners, what happens when they have a baby is it doubles down. It almost makes the intensity of that nice guy syndrome skyrocket.
Yeah.
And the assumption that I'm making is that the moment that they have a child is that the intensity of that connection goes up, meaning that I have so much more to lose now if I lose you as a partner. And so now I'm going to double down on my nice guy, and I'm going to try and do absolutely everything I can to be loved, appreciated, adored, whatever it might be by you. And it is so overwhelming for their female partners. I'm talking specifically about heterosexual relationships. But I'm wondering if you have seen that pattern as well, that something happens in the relationship.
I did that. Yeah.
You did that? Mm-hmm. Was it specifically a kid? I can kind of imagine.
Yeah.
It could be a number of things, but I'm seeing it with children because that's sort of the demographic that I'm working with.
Yeah. So, maybe we can kind of back it up and get a little bit bigger picture.
Sure.
After my second marriage, I got out. I became single really for the first time in my adult life. I was in my 40s. And so I learned to date and learned to date well enough that my clients were saying, Robert, teach us what you're doing. I go, I'm not a dating coach, but I didn't make the connection, but I am a relationship therapist. So So why not? And so one of the things I started hearing from men is that early on in a relationship, they weren't necessarily the nice guy with their partner. They were more integrated. They had their guy friends. They let their partner have her feelings rather than trying to fix them. They get everything back to good and copacetic. They didn't sacrifice all of their life, but the more invested they got in the relationship, the more there was to lose. If something went south, the more nice they got. It's kind of like, if you're a sports fan, especially like football, say your favorite team gets 25 points ahead at halftime. Now they start playing a little bit looser defense. Or they don't want to give up the big play. And all of a sudden, going into the fourth quarter, the game's tied. What happened? They were playing not to lose. It'd be like in baseball, going up trying not to strike out. You can't play that way. You can't. In cricket, I think they call playing on your back leg. I could have that backwards. Maybe it's front leg. I don't know. I got British people that I talk to. So, but something like that is trying not to lose. You've got sunk cost. You've got investment, right? And that happens with nice guys in a relationship. And you mentioned something of guys being, hypervigilant and over attentive and I am. That's a piece I've had to learn on because it's wired into my nervous system. I mean, my first love object, my mother, was this, depressed, codependent, unhappy woman that I had to be there and listen to and, read it. And my dad was this angry, critical. Now, there are dogs still involved in this show.
Can you hear my dogs outside?
I could, because, I've been on podcasts, and the one probably people most know about was Chris Williamson. He was interviewing me, and my dog Nala was in here, and she had to bark and had to let her out. And come to find out, my wife was outside the front gate and forgot her keys. I didn't know that till later. So, yeah, you can always take that out later with software.
Well, no, our listeners, they know all about Dash and Smidge. So,
my listeners all know about Nala, so we're all good. We're all good. Okay, so there is this hypervigilance. Mine is in my nervous system, right? Where like my wife will get a look on her face, a downturn, mouth. I'll feel her energy. She's a little bit more rigid, a little withdrawn, a little quiet, one-word answers. It activates something in me like, I feel like I'm going to die. And I'm not going to die. My wife loves me dearly. And I kind of tease myself. I thought, this short little Mexican woman isn't going to hurt me. She's not going to leave me. And I didn't even know her 10 years ago.
She probably just needs a hamburger. And you're like, the world is upside down.
That's usually not the answer. But, in your case, so anybody in Laura's life, when she gets that look, it's a hamburger.
I'm your hamburger.
But I have learned to break it down to what, instead of my story being projected, oh, she's got that look, I'm going to die, I got to fix it right now. I've learned to break it down. I've learned to soothe myself, number one, to calm my nervous system. I'm not going to die. This woman loves me. She has my initials tattooed on her body. She's not going anywhere, right? She could still go somewhere, but I know she's not. So I break it down. My woman's either not feeling sufficiently loved by me right now, not feeling sufficiently connected to me right now, or not feeling sufficiently secure or safe with me right now. And is there anything I can do about those three things? And I'm not trying to fix, but, if I can show up with more presence, be more in the now, bring her more into the present, with just a little bit of connection and touch and eye contact. If I can listen deeply without trying to fix or solve or get me out of my nervous system, often, quickly, she'll feel more loved or more connected or more safe. And that's usually, I've found for most women, that's the core piece. Now, often something else is going on. My wife got messages from family members. She's 8 out of 10 kids, and they constantly have drama. And so she'll maybe it's that. Maybe it's something with our kids. Maybe it's about some bill that has to be paid, and she's figuring out when she's going to be able to go pay it. It could be any number of things, but I have to soothe my nervous system. So that's a really core piece. So here's an irony or a paradox. Of one reason why nice guys often are not as nice as we think. And as you know, Laura, early in the book, I lead with all the ways that nice guys aren't nice.
Right.
Their passive aggressiveness, their dishonesty, their lack of authenticity, lack of transparency. But with so many, and this is a complaint because as a marriage therapist, I've worked with a lot of couples and heard the complaints of a lot of partners of nice guys.
Right.
And they'll say like, well, he'll try to anticipate and do everything for me and always be
Right.
there and always fix everything. But he never really actually listens. He doesn't really know what's really bothering me. He doesn't really get what's really on my mind or what that I just want to tell him this. I don't want him to defend himself or fix it or tell me it's
females-
going to be okay.
Yeah. Or I hear a lot from the females is I don't want to burden him with what's going on with me because he doesn't know how to regulate. So the moment
Yeah.
I start to complain, so she feels like she has to be perfect because the moment she has feelings, he's taken them on. They're now his feelings. And that's a real burden for her because she wants to be authentic in the relationship. Now she's masking.
And she's mad. And the guy's thinking, I've got to fix this because the nice guys. Let me just kind of interject this. You know, in the book, I talk about covert contracts.
Yes.
And and as you mentioned, I get so many emails from people that say, Robert, this book changed my life. You said, Robert, I've read every self-help book on the market. This is the one that finally gave me clarity. Is why I'm not happy or why my relationships aren't working. But the 3 covert contracts of nice guys, and this is even with more clarity than what's in the book. They're all if-then giving to get contracts, and they're covert. So the nice guy himself might not even be aware of them. The other person surely is not. But covert contract number 1, if I'm a good guy, then you will like me and love me. Okay. And for single guys, and want to be my girlfriend and get naked with me. So there's a lot of this giving to get. It's manipulative. Okay. And then the second covert contract is if I read your mind and give to you what you want without you having to ask, then you will read my mind and give to me without me having to ask. Well, that doesn't work because whatever I'm giving to you, it's what I'd call caretaking. I'm giving to you what I want to give to you, so I feel like I'm a good guy and I'm doing it right. It may not even be what you need. I'm trying to solve your problem for you, but it's not what you want. It's not what you need. You can solve your own problems. You just need to process it. So, and of course, you cannot read my mind and give to me. And as a nice guy, I'm going to be really vague and unclear of what I want and need. Because remember, those things get hidden because I think wants and needs are bad and they make people reject me. And if you do try to give to me, I won't let you. I'll turn it around and try to give back to you again. So many partners have told me, Robert, you're very difficult to give to. So covert contract number 3 is very Peter Panish. If I do everything right, then I'll have a smooth, problem-free world. You know, this is a covert contract with women, with world, with God. Look, I've done everything right. I've got the scoreboard. Look at all the good things I do. I should have credits in the bank. Nobody should ever get mad at me, upset at me, criticize me, call me out. So that's what the partners of nice guys are having to deal with is those 3 covert contracts. Because I'm a good guy. You should like me and love me. Yeah, and you should want to have sex whenever I want to have it because I'm a good guy. I give to you all the time. You should appreciate me, and you should give back to me. Without me having to ask. And because I do everything right, you should never get mad at me, upset at me, or have a complaint, or call me out because I'm going to defend myself, or even go on the attack because you've broken the rules. I've got credits in the bank. You're supposed to recognize those. So those are some real core pieces that the partners of nice guys have to deal with, is those covert contracts. And a lot of guys will say, Robert, should I give the book to my partner? I'm reading your book. And I say, yeah, why not? Yeah. What the nice guy's afraid of is that, number one, their partners are now going to see them more clearly. Like, oh, no, I don't want you to see all this. Right. The other part is their partners are going to hold them to a higher standard. Okay, I expect you to be honest now. I expect you to be transparent. I expect you to ask for what you want. I expect, you follow through on your word. So nice guys are kind of afraid, she'll be on to me, and she'll raise the bar of the standard she has for me. I go, good, good. In both cases, good. And so many women, again, so many guys come to me because their partner or a female therapist gave them the book. A lot of guys said, my ex gave me the book after we broke up. Yeah. So this is what the partners have to deal with. Okay, the kid thing, bring it back.
Yeah.
I was nodding my head listening to you. My first wife's the mother of my son. And we were married almost 10 years before he was born. We married right after, we met in college, married 2 days after I graduated.
Ring by spring. Yeah.
Is that what because I went to a Christian college. I never heard that. But
funny.
What we were told a lot, this is the, they didn't say target rich environment. Yeah. But this is where you should find a Christian
better take
spouse.
Care of it right now.
Yeah, Christian college, right?
Did you go to school in the Seattle area?
No, I went to school in Arkansas at a church-affiliated Christian college. Yeah. There was this, get married, because this is the best place to meet, a Christian partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got married, and through grad school, I went and got my master's, got my PhD. So I got my PhD about 29, and we didn't know if we wanted to have kids or not. Neither one of us. We're ambivalent. So I actually did research on voluntary childlessness and presented a paper at University of Nebraska on the subject. And
Wow.
we basically just decided, you know what? We can't decide. Let's just quit using birth control. We'll see what happens.
Well,
And,
put it in God's hands.
Yeah, we'll let go of it. And,
Yeah.
and so we did. We had my son. He'll be 39 on the 6th of this month of August.
All
So he's
right.
coming up on his 39th birthday. And I was a minister at the time. And
But you
We
have
had
such an
moved-
interesting background. This is
there's
great.
all kinds of stuff down under there.
Yeah.
So, as I said, I grew up in the Seattle area, and I went to school in the southern U.S. and did all my education in Arkansas, Texas, and Tennessee. My first wife was from Louisiana. And then we moved back to the Seattle area. And I was working for a church, and my first wife was miserable. She was, our son was about to be born. I think we moved in May or June, and then he was born in August. She was not enjoying being a minister's wife. She lived way away from, the familiar South.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let anybody help or get close, including my mother, who lived in the area. As soon as my son was born, he was born with a birth defect, with a cleft lip, and he was fine, but he had to have a couple surgeries, in the first few months of life. Those were stressful. Without a doubt, my ex-wife had postpartum depression, would not let anybody help, was unhappy being a preacher's wife, was unhappy being up in Seattle.
Yeah.
She was a teacher by training. She's unhappy not being able to go to work and teach. We only had one car. Unhappy that I only had one car. I'd come home from work at church. She'd hand me my son and say, "Here, he's yours. Take him."
Yeah.
I've had him all day.
Totally.
I was a true blue nice guy. I was not only doing everything under the sun to be a good dad, to be there for my son, to be there for my wife, who was stressed about his surgeries, who was just stressed about being a mother, who was stressed about being a preacher's wife, who was
Yeah.
stressed about not living in the South, who wouldn't let anybody help. So I did everything. I was a preacher of a congregation of about 300 people. I didn't know how to say no to anybody. Any request I got, I'd say, yeah, sure, because that's what nice guys do. Without
Right.
even thinking, do I want to do this? Do I have time to do this? Will I be able to get around to doing this?
Yeah.
I was just maxed out nice guy.
Yeah.
And all the things that came with it. My stress, my empty bucket that I was trying to give from that empty bucket, resentments. I'm giving, I'm not getting anything back. I'm not appreciated. I'm not valued. When's it going to be my turn? I have nothing in my life for me. It's always everybody. Yeah, I was true blue nice guy.
Yeah.
And my wife got more and more depressed. And, I was trying to fix it and solve it. And everything I tried wasn't working.
Yeah.
And what happened in my case is that a woman showed attention to me. And that grew and got out of control, turned into an affair. And she left her husband and I left my wife, and we married each other. I became my second wife.
Yeah.
So my story is like this thing. As a nice guy, I had no coping skills for that stressful time of life of a son born with a birth disorder, my partner being completely overwhelmed and depressed and not, she wanted to quit being a preacher's wife, wanted to move back to the South, wanted to go back to, things that are understandable that she wanted to kind of, and even though she was a fantastic mother, I think during that time she didn't want to be a mother.
Yeah.
But even though she could not actually leave our son alone for more than a few minutes. So, she had all of her emotional pieces wrapped up in that. So, yeah, it was stressful. And as a nice guy, I was totally unequipped to deal with all that. So I'd be your poster child of that situation you were describing.
Well, and I was just thinking too, like if you are partnered with someone who is having postpartum depression or has some mental unwellness, whether it is something that is chronic or maybe it's situational, I can see how much that would impact a nice guy if you're not able to fix that for them. Like if you're not okay, I'm not okay. And how that can really start to, that would just really wear. Something I do. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to introduce a term.
Okay.
I don't use the word codependency in the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. That was a conscious decision. When I wrote the book, but it is codependency. I'll just say that. When I wrote the book, the term codependent was primarily only used in two arenas. One was partners of addicts. That's where the term came from. So addicts in recovery, their partners were often addicted to the partners, to controlling the partner in their addiction. And that codependency it's just as powerful an addiction as any other addiction. Because like for me as a codependent, it is always about trying to manage my hyper alert nervous system that I'm going to get abandoned. I'm going to die. I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't, and then the term had come to have been used quite a bit for women who love too much and so nobody had ever written about codependent patterns specifically in men. I was the first person to really do that. Wow. And so I didn't want to use the word codependent because I didn't want men especially, just to dismiss the book. Well, how can I be codependent? I'm not a partner of an addict, or I'm not a woman. And so I didn't use the term. But an even better term that I like, that I don't hear a lot, but I like it better, is a term called borrowed functioning. And borrowed functioning basically says there is no me without you.
Yeah.
And for nice guys, how that often looks is I need you to be happy for me to be happy. Or even I need you to have problems that I can fix so I feel needed and valued. And so, as you mentioned, sometimes nice guys get in a relationship and then maybe the partner starts expressing feelings or gets depressed or a problem develops. And the nice guy doesn't know what to do other than I got to fix it and get it back to good.
Yeah.
Maybe as often or more, nice guys get into relationships with problematic partners.
Right.
Because it fits the borrowed functioning, the kind of the key and lock of the nice guy. Oh, this person, they're hot, they're sexy, they're young, they're cool, they're this, but, then there's that but, they're depressed. Or, they hate men, or, they have, sexual trauma, or they can't hold a job or pay their bills. There's always the but, and I can fix that. It's a diamond in the rough. I'll polish that up, and then I'll have this amazing partner. Now, there is a certain twisted logic to it, but it is the borrowed functioning that I need you to have a problem so I can be the fixture. I can be the white knight. In Red Pill community, they call it Captain Save-A-Ho. I will go fix it. Yeah. If you've never heard the term, it resonates right away.
I've never heard it from someone with a white beard. I just
with
have
a white
to
beard.
Say that. Yeah. I've heard it from
your 14-year-old.
From my brother of all places. But oh my God, you just made my day.
Oh, I'm out there in the world. I know what's going on out there. So, but because that resonates. So many men, go find a woman that needs fixing because I don't think I can get a woman who isn't problematic. And my borrowed functioning comes from being the problem solver, i.e. the nice guy. Look at me. I'm different than the bad men that are selfish and narcissistic and just use women. I give. I make their lives better. So here's a paradox to the borrowed functioning problem. If you're my partner and I'm in this thing, I need you to have problems so that you feel good about me. And of course, it looks like on the surface, I'm trying to get you to good so you won't have problems so I can now have my calm, easy, peaceful life with no disruptions. And then I get mad when you don't. But here's the thing. If you get to where you don't have problems anymore, you don't need me.
Right.
You don't need me. And so while I'm trying to get you problem free, the truth is, once I get you problem free, my anxiety is going to go up. Right. Well, you'll move on. You don't need me. You'll go find the better man that I don't think I am. That's why I picked a problematic person in the first place. I don't think I'm good enough to get the kind of woman I want. I got to fix up a problem. I got to buy, the old, heap of a junk car and fix it up to have the cool car. I can't just go out and get the cool car. So that borrowed functioning has this extra built-in toxicity.
Totally.
That while I'm trying to fix you and make you better, and I get mad at you over time because you don't ever get better in the ways that I think you should because of all that I do for you, if you actually do get better, I'm probably going to have to sabotage that or live in a state of anxiety that you're going to leave me now.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It is a mess. Yeah.
So Zach's going, I should read that book.
I should read that book.
You should, 100%. Or I'll just give you my notes that I've been taking.
Here's the thing. I feel like I should read that book, although I'm kind of nodding, going, yep, I get it, totally. And it's actually, it's work I've already done, not to say that I can't benefit from
On
reading
yourself
the book.
or with clients?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like I'm thinking about me and Rebecca and going, yep, we had that pattern, totally. And fortunately, we've been through a lot of healing. But I have 100%. I have clients in my practice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and they can read it in a day. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna go.
I mean, you're really motivated, but here's here's
It
the
depends.
thing.
Some people read it in a day and can't put it down. Others
Right.
read 3 pages and don't come back to it for 6 months.
Well, or
Because
they
it
read it
hits so
for a
close
year,
home.
where they're like going back and they're circling things and they're scratching things.
Oh yeah,
out.
that is. Guys send me pictures of their book.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all
I
the
bet.
turn pages and yellow
I bet.
highlighting in them. Yeah,
I bet.
Well, that's where I was going to ask is that it's not just a book that I mean, yes, you can read it, you can pick it up, you can kind of get the idea of like, okay, I'm self-diagnosing, I am a nice guy, but you have all of these exercises to be able to move you out of nice guy syndrome and become a recovering nice guy. And that's the piece that I wanted to ask you is there a workbook? Do you have a workbook? Like,
Okay.
I just like what is the tangible thing? Because I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I got to write that exercise down. I've got to write that one down.
yeah. Well, yes, there is a PDF that has all those breaking free exercises.
Okay.
Here's a story about that. When I was writing No More Mr. Nice Guy, like I said, I didn't set out to write a book. I was just writing. And
Yeah.
when people said, you should write a book, well, okay. And so it probably took about 3 different formats till I finally settled on the one it is. And if I published everything I'd written, it'd be about that thick. It's only
Yeah.
about that thick.
Yeah.
I found out one thing I found out as a writer, your reader doesn't need to know everything you know in order for them to understand the subject and make a change.
Yeah.
So I thought I was done, and I sent the manuscript off to a professional editor. And he gave me some really good feedback. Actually, I thought he was kind of a jerk to me in some of his comments, and it kind of hurt my feelings, but it helped in a lot of ways.
We had
One,
that experience too, right? In our book.
I did, take out a lot of the illustrations that were redundant. But he said, okay, you're telling guys, don't be a nice guy. You have to tell them what they're going to become
What they
and how to
can
get
be,
there.
yeah.
And I go, I'm a therapist. I can't tell people what to do. And he goes, it's a self-help book. You have to
Yeah.
tell people what to do.
help people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where the breaking free exercises came from. I think there's like 50 something of them in the
It's a
book.
lot.
And all the way from just doing a few little things to like, taking a vacation to a foreign country by yourself to go have a completely different experience out of your comfort zone. So there's all kinds of breaking free exercises. Now, here's a piece. Yes. I don't know if it says it in the Kindle version of the book, may not in the print version, but I think it just says, write us at drglover.com and we'll send you a PDF of the breaking free exercises. But here's the thing. One thing I've learned about men, and it's true of me, is that we men, and Zach's not at all like this, is, I got it. I understand it. I've worked it out. Give it, give me the schematic. Give me the roadmap. I'll go do it. How long is this going to take? That's kind of the way guys do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I preach in No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I've been preaching this for years since, and probably in any interview I do where the people ask, well, what is the path of recovery for a nice guy? I go, number 1, go find safe people. Don't try to do this work alone. You did
Right.
not internalize your toxic shame and social isolation. You're not going to work through it.
That's so true.
This is not, how do I intellectually understand my nice guy syndrome and break free
Right.
from it?
Right.
This is how do I rework my nervous system? This is how do I open up and connect with men who I don't trust and don't feel safe? How do I accept being called out and giving accurate information that there's Nala. She's going to
Nala.
bark at something
Yeah.
now. So men want to read the book, want to get the workbook, want to, all right, just give me the do-it-yourself course. I'll get better. I'll get fixed. But nice guy syndrome is a social, interactive dynamic.
Yeah.
And for men to do this work, I would say go find a coach, go find a therapist, go find a men's group, a men's program, a 12-step group, go to a men's retreat, start doing this work with men where you're visible, where you're seen. And the workbook is helpful. The breaking free exercises are helpful. But really, literally, a man could read the book, get a lot out of it, do the breaking free exercises, make some growth and improvement. But I think he's just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because so much of who we are is down there below the surface, out of view, in the shadow, in our blind spots. We can't see our own blind spots. For example, A woman in a relationship with a nice guy will keep pointing things out to him. You don't follow through, or I can't trust you, or you look like you're paying attention and listening to me, but all you're really trying to do is solve my problem, so I'll quit complaining and be happy, right? You're not really hearing me, right? Those women will tell the guy that, but because it's coming from his wife and he's a nice guy and wants to be seen as good, finally they end up in my office. And I'll say something like, yeah, well, you're, pretending to listen to your wife while you're trying to actually fix it so she'll get back to good and quit complaining. She's not feeling heard, safe, or validated with you. And that's what you're trying to do is actually working against you. And the guy goes, oh, okay. I get that. And then the woman will go, wait, I've been telling you that for years and you tune me out and defend yourself. The doctor says it once and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I buy into it. Yeah. So we can't see our own dark side. We can't see our own shadow. We can't see our own blind spots. And, even we say, yeah, I've done the work. I've been doing the work for 30 years. And my stuff still keeps popping up. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Right? Yeah. Something new in life triggered me in some new way that I wasn't familiar with. Wow, that's it. And I get curious. So I'm just, well, we can send you the PDF of all the breaking free exercises. And especially if you have the Kindle or the audiobook, it's really handy to have. Yeah. And I preach, go find that safe person, coach, therapist, especially if you can, a group, online, in person, weekend retreat. When I started my nice guy work 30 years ago, all I could find, because that's pretty much pre-internet. Internet existed, but broadband didn't. Right. Smartphones didn't. Websites didn't. Yeah. And so all I found was the mythopoetic movement of Robert Bly and Iron John and Michael Meade. And I went out in the woods and I beat some drums and I had the talking stick and I said ho, and I did some of that, and there wasn't much else besides that. Now, there were some other things, but you had to hear about them word of mouth. A buddy had to tell you, because there was really no real other way to communicate these kinds of things, whether there's like a Sterling Weekend or a Mankind Project. They've been around for a little while, but it's really only been the last 25 years that they've really kind of, people know about here. But I'm so happy and so thrilled because now, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a men's coach out there, or a men's group or a men's program, and that's good. I'm sure there's varying quality of them, but I'm just thrilled that men have so many ways and opportunities to go connect with men in conscious ways, open-hearted ways that get them out of their comfort zone, get them being vulnerable, authentic, and real. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that exists, and I think that maybe No More Mr. Nice Guys played a role in that proliferation of men's programs out there. Yeah.
I'm a little jealous because I'm not a man and I can't be a part of these men's groups, but I have been preaching this to my couples, my men in particular, especially my middle-aged white men, where that is like the largest demographic of suicide and depression, and just trying to have them find ways to connect with other men. So if you are listening to this, we will put in our show notes a few men's groups that we know of, that we're aware of, and a lot of them are not in person. A lot of these men's groups are all virtual, but
it's a good starting place, though.
It is a great starting place.
I've got my men's membership program. It's virtual. It's worldwide. We launched July 23, several hundred members, and we try to do things to get people connected in person. We're growing in that way. But and there's so many good men's programs out there. Start with the virtual. And if you can find local, fantastic.
Tell us about, if people are curious about just learning more about No More Mr. Nice Guy, you can find, like you had mentioned, anywhere books are sold, right? Like Amazon, you can find the audiobook, the ebook, the physical copy of the book. It's at your local library, but it's nice to support Robert.
And you want to highlight in it and bend the pages.
Yes, you will. Yeah. That is very true. You want your own copy. But where else can people find you if they're curious about what you have going on?
Well, drglover.com is my website, drglover.com. Has my online courses, has my workshops that I do. I do a few a year down here in Puerto Vallarta. Come down and my wife will cook for us, and we'll hang out around the pool with Nala in beautiful weather. So drglover.com has my podcast and courses and workshops. IntegrationNation.net is my men's membership program. And That's what I encourage men to
Very
go look
cool.
at in terms of finding a community of men. And if guys, if people, men and women want to know more, lately I've been doing 5, 6, 8 to 10 interviews a week. So there are lots and lots of interviews of me on YouTube.
Yeah.
So just go on
search
YouTube and search. I did that the other day. I saw some stuff that I didn't even know was up there. A speech I gave in Berlin 2 years ago.
Cool.
I thought, how cool. That was my favorite speech ever. And it's right there on YouTube with German subtitles under it. So, just go on YouTube, and there's lots and lots and lots of interviews. So you'll
That's very cool.
hear me say a lot of inappropriate things and stuff like
love
that.
it. You did say a few things where I was like, we should be friends, because Swinging a Dead Cat and Captain Save-A-Ho are my 2 favorites. Just have
that's
to
your
say.
2 favorite. Well,
My 2 faves.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, well, I'm aware of time, and I just wanted to say thank you so much
been
for
a delight.
coming on to our podcast, speaking to our listeners. I can't wait to send this to my clients in particular that are my nice guys who have been reading your book, going through it, and their wives. So thank you.
Well, this is
Appreciate
great
you.
for me because now I know of good people in Bend, more good people in Bend, more good people in the Seattle area. Zach, what
Yeah.
area? Where are you at?
Actually, my office is in Northgate, so right near your birth
In Northgate.
hospital that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but that hospital's not there anymore. They tore it down. Just I went back to look at it a few years ago, and it's not there anymore. So
No.
so North Seattle. So it's good to know. Again, I always like to know where are there good resources who get this and who want to help men and couples that that are affected by this. So I appreciate the invitation to come talk to your audience and to know you guys better. And like I said, I already have a predisposition to like people from
There
Bend
you
in the
go.
Seattle area. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Robert. Have a wonderful day.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta. People have a hard time saying that because there's too many diphthongs, and the double L in Spanish is
Vallarta.
rather than L. And Vallarta really isn't even a Spanish word. It's the name of a captain that came here, like up in Vancouver area. There's it's all named
Came
after
down.
captains, all that stuff.
Oh,
So Puerto Vallarta, or PV.
PV, there we go.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Sounds like a venereal disease. But anyway.
I like your. Yeah.
All right.
You save your best stuff for the end of the
we
show.
gotta go.
Yeah, Zach's going. Turn the recorder off. We're right at an hour.
I know.
That's enough.
I know.
Put the muzzle on Laura and all her crazy dogs.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll land this plane. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. I'm sure you can tell that Dr. Glover and we are long lost best friends. He just doesn't know it yet. If you want to become a long lost best friend of him too, you can join his website. It's drglover.com. He also talked about the men's group that he has. You can find out more at integrationnation.net. Thanks for all of your time and attention, making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.